Vocabulary 36 word of nouns. What is it they called? It is they called. Shoulder bag. What is it they called? It is they called. Crossbody bag. What is it they called? It is they called. Fanny pack. What is it they called? It is they called. Clutch. What is it they called? It is they called. Wallet. What is it they called? It is they called. Duffel bag. What is it they called? It is they called. Drawstring bag. What is it they called? It is they called. Tote bag. What is it they called? It is they called. Messenger bag. What is it they called? It is they called. Vanity bag. What is it they called? It is they called. Backpack. What is it they called? It is they called. Loose. What is it they called? It is they called. Tight. What is it they called? It is they called. Rusty. What is it they called? It is they called. Frozen. What is it they called? It is they called. Streaky. What is it they called? It is they called. Bent. What is it they called? It is they called. Sharp. What is it they called? It is they called. Frayed. What is it they called? It is they called. Fragile. What is it they called? It is they called. Rotten. What is it they called? It is they called. Moldy. What is it they called? It is they called. Brunt. What is it they called? It is they called. Slippery. What is it they called? It is they called. Whisk. What is it they called? It is they called. Peeler. What is it they called? It is they called. Spatula. What is it they called? It is they called. Tongs. What is it they called? It is they called. Ladle. What is it they called? It is they called. Colander. What is it they called? It is they called. Mortar and pestle. What is it they called? It is they called. Churner. What is it they called? It is they called. Peppermill. What is it they called? It is they called. Measuring cup. What is it they called? It is they called. Grater. What is it they called? It is they called. Rolling pin.